Hello everyone, I'm RobtheMod. Welcome to part 29, Needs to be Prostreet on the PlayStation 3. The last one of the year. So in this, we only need to, as I've mentioned, we only need a win. We've only got, 3 more to win. There's, I think, how many events is there? There's this, obviously, Mondello Park, Chicago Airfield, Ibizu, another Nevada Highway. Okay, we've actually got, 5 more to do. Also, in this side of the bracket. We'll do them all before we move on, because that's what I've been doing previously, if you've been watching. But yeah, Infineon is what we're doing in this one, and we're going to view the details in it. So we've got a grip race, a sector shootout, a quarter-mile drag, and a drift, so a bunch of different types of races. 911 Turbo, Supra, that, and Golf GTI. Might not even do the sector shootout. We'll find out. Actually, I think we probably will. Depends how many points we need to progress through this. I love how those screens, the screen that's next to my car, right? People will be like, oh, did you... there's legit, I remember when flat screens actually look like that. That is actually an accurate representation. That's what I was trying to say there. Basically. You look... if I look at my monitor now, it's basically got no bezel on it at all. I'm actually, the monitor that I'm on my left has got, a bit of a bezel. The reviews even mentioned at the time. Oh my god, this has, got a thick bezel for what it is. You know? For how thick... if you don't know what the bezel is, it's like the frame of the monitor. You know, the frame of the TV. You know, the bit around the screen. You look at a modern flat screen, it's literally hardly got any bezel at all. The monitor on my left, which is they're both Samsungs, but the monitor on my left that I don't game on anymore. I used to, but you know, that's it. The reviews for that said it had a thick bezel for when it originally came out, which was 2020 or whatever. Right. The actual one that I'm using now is because basically I have if you're unaware, I have 2 4K monitors, but only one of them has HDR. So of course I'm going to use the one that has HDR. Even though of course PS3 stuff not going to use HDR, but PS5 does. And at the time of recording, I don't have an Xbox Series X, but if I was to get one, of course, it would also use HDR. And PC uses HDR as well. And let's go. Let's actually get around the corner. But yeah, I remember back in the day, those old flat screens, oh my god, the bezels on them were huge. This is obviously going to age me a lot, but you look up, people in the UK may remember this. If you're American or anywhere else, obviously you wouldn't have got this, but look up CBBC 2003. That's the era of CBBC that I watched when I was a kid. It's so weird because I was kind of looking at some bits of it, not recently, but earlier in the year, if that makes any sense. Just for a little bit of nostalgia. I didn't watch much, but yeah, it wasn't really I saw not really a review, but a mention of it where they were oh, the whole thing with CBBC in this era was that they were aiming. It was all aimed at kids, obviously, but they still had to get a teenage audience. So all the because if you're unaware, if you're in the people in the UK will know what I mean, but we had our kids' channels, like even Disney Channel, like Nickelodeon, when they first moved to the UK, they had like what we call in-vision continuity, which is where they like you actually have like a person that basically presents the shows and like reads out viewer emails and stuff like that. It was and really like that used to like actually be the case on like actual TV itself. I'm gonna do the drag race here, but that used to be like the case on actual TV itself, like back in like the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. And then they just went to like actually just having like a voice, basically, like I'm talking, where they're like, up next, it's Coronation Street. But they kept like the Envision stuff for kids, right? And Disney and Nickelodeon and all them got rid of that ages ago. I mean, Disney Channel doesn't even exist as a channel over here anymore, right? But like, Cartoon Network had it as well. But basically, the whole thing with it, right, is that like I saw like it was like it was in like a newspaper or something, like or like a web article. Wasn't really a review, but it was like going over the history of it, and they were like, oh, because they were still going for like teenage audience back then on CBBC, because now the whole CBBC audience is like the whole CBBC audience is like 6 to like 11 or whatever it is. And then there's like a preschool one called CBBC that's even younger. Oh, that was a good launch. But back when I was a kid, they still had to go like up to 16 as like the target audience. So there was still some like pretty adult shows on CBBC. Like if you ever look up like Green Chill on Wikipedia, you'll be like, this was a children's show? Like there's a whole thing on like the heroin like a kid got addicted to heroin on that show. Like it's legit like proper like teenage drama. But anyway, so the point is like the whole thing with CBBC continuity back in like 2002 whatever is that we're trying to like be hip and cool for like the teenagers, but it kind of just essentially meant that for like the younger kids like me, they were sort of like big brothers and sisters as the presenters, if you know what I mean. Like that's how it came off. And the whole reason I'm talking about this is basically in the CBBC studio, they have like a huge amount of like those screens, like with huge thick bezels on the wall. So when I look at like, and this was like way before people like actually had flat screens in their house. They were flat screens, but like they were expensive. So like the BBC having like, you know, 4 of them on the wall. I have no idea how much it would have cost, but like it was. I just remember them looking that era. I mean, obviously it's nostalgia speaking, but I just remember that era being like. Basically, I think what was I saying? I was basically saying I looked up some nostalgia, like I looked up some nostalgia. I looked up some videos for nostalgia, and I remember it being so cool. And then I look back, and I'm like, nah, that wasn't. I can't. How did I ever think that was cool? Basically, that was the thing. I remember it being like so adult, I guess. And yeah, I look back, and I'm like, yeah, this is kid stuff. I don't know what I was expecting. Well, you'd have like actual like sports presenters from like, you know, adult sports presenters and stuff come on CBBC for like the teenagers and stuff. And then I look back at it and I'm like, yeah, they're kind of still aiming down, if that makes any sense. I mean, I still love that era of CBBC, the shows that I watched and all that, like, great, but it needs to stay in the past because it's childhood. I'm not going back and revisiting that. Apart from when I eventually do get up to Top of the Pop Saturday, because that was a CBBC show when I do the clips. But aside from that, leaving all that in the past. But yeah, I've been RobtheMod. Thank you very much for watching part 29 of Need for Speed Prostreet on the PlayStation 3. We'll be moving on to what, well, apparently I've got Mondello Park as the next one. Which one is that? Is that this one? Yes, it's this one. So in that one, we have a drift, a grip class, a drift, and a time attack. What have we got in Chicago Airfield? Grip, quarter mile drag, half mile drag, sorry. Drift, grip, sector shootout. Right, okay. Because we got basically just those two and then we can move on to this. I'm going to do all the rest that are up there, but yeah. Thanks for watching. Have a happy new year if you just watch Need for Speed Prostreet, and I'll see you next time for more. Ta-ra.